Kuzampala, you're watching Bhutan This Week with me, Kolawati Kuragai. Our top stories this week. His Majesty the King graced the closing ceremony of the Parliament. His Holiness the Jigme appointed Shun Dasang's Kiko Liwe. And lack of disability support services limit students with disabilities from pursuing university degree. His Majesty the King graced the closing ceremony of the 7th session of the 3rd Parliament. Parliamentarians offered Tashi Melam and Shabdan to His Majesty the King. The 7th session began on the 2nd of last month.
The Speaker, in his concluding address, expressed gratitude to His Majesty the King for tirelessly touring southern and western districts during the rainy season. He also thanked His Majesty for granting an audience to Disupes and inspiring them to serve the nation and society.
Sachai kidu nambeka satipgi ringonya gonya kidu namedegi mise desu sem chajamepa lo detotobe sowa junida rango randulu pento bombera juni imle mewa chulo namya jebra pambe kadiga soyu sushuni inla.
During the month-long session, the National Assembly adopted the Fiscal Incentives Bill of Bhutan 2022, the Goods and Services Tax Bill of Bhutan 2022, and the Tourism Levy Bill of Bhutan 2022. The House also adopted the Rules of Procedure of the National Assembly of Bhutan 2022. National Assembly deliberated on the Forest and Nature Conservation Bill of Bhutan 2021 and the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. The joint sitting deliberated on Royal Audit Authority's Annual Audit Report 2020 to 2021, the Civil Society Organizations Bill of Bhutan 2021, and the Anti-Corruption Bill of Bhutan 2021. The joint sitting adopted the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Meanwhile, the government proposed the Budget Appropriation Bill for the financial year 2022 to 2023 of about 82 billion item and a supplementary budget of over 3.8 billion item for the financial year 2021 to 2022. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
His Holiness the Jigme conferred Tashi Lekter to appoint Kiko Liwe of the Jung Dasang at the Tashi Chazong. Liwe Doji Wandi from Rukupji in Wandifoda is the new Kiko Liwe. His responsibilities mainly include drawing mandalas and weaving ritual thread crosses during Kurims, among others. Prior to the current appointment, he served as assistant to the former Kiko Liwe. He was ordained as a monk at the age of 11 at Pungtim Datsa. He also completed a retreat from Chiji Gempa in Temple. The Joint Committee's recommendation to give human resource independence to the ACC failed to get a 2/3 majority for endorsement. The members of the National Council are not happy with the decision. They said this happened because of the voting procedure the Speaker initiated for that particular recommendation.
During the press conference yesterday, the NC members said the due procedure was not followed while deciding on whether the ACC should be given HR independence or not.
속병이가 대비모서 어쩐데 존 커뮤니티 같이 댄슨 레디 레조달루 사례 랍야 두고라 대보달루 거기 아니기 HR independence 날로 heb달루디 못 주주메 발라 같이 뭐 because 공기 랍 아니 잡주 예가 세워달리 랍야 미투발라 because it can be seen by all the members 라 용적이 미투에서달루 공 아니 ACC 지갈로 아니 존메 발라 안에 배달루 댄슨 레레루디 같이 메신 유스 베니레밀라
ngachigi tuchedi thutachedi omdalu tensen reregu mapacha yase mambigi thole imbachin ti chajotu membachin lokde sunde na bibema to tensen reregu chogen chuk didi debedi hemale joe majosi shuni lani bendi azizi gue thomsuchi ka tab deube mola khora da khachaya ngachigi gyong chokdegi thizigi lokchira shuila jagogirim badi mazuyga azi sachi zinase te sanini re shuroye te taro chokagi wanchedi khora loibda ti se matupsi shuni
ni ju phiudai azizi sam mazola ngaragi thizingila nangkyogi shezomna lukara shecham chungdibe thatu to bedebala 때 ngachare 속충기 된데 표미디고라 ngach에 잡줄 피네 마도 다나 속망기 베르이 뚝지 마베르이 뚝지세 야소벽안래 때 ngach에 냠들 속충이 중쿠 맵숨베 ngach에 냠들 속충기 표미기 짜첸 된센 리리굴루 속인 주고베디 ngachare 팀즈의 자규기 내주 니동 줍디체 만나로 껴디기베 미세 슈넬.
Refuting these allegations, Speaker of the National Assembly Wanchu Namgyol said the House followed the Legislative Rules of Procedure 2017 during the voting. As per the procedure, the final report shall not be open for further amendment at the joint sitting, and after the report has been submitted by the chairperson or member, the bill shall be put to vote by the Speaker. He also said he asked the members whether the recommendation should be given to the Joint Committee again, but only a few members supported that. Considering the seriousness of the discussion, he said the voting machine was used so that the members would not feel obliged to vote against their decision. He said voting by show of hands sometimes influences members to follow an influential member. Bimasaldan Singh, PBS News.
Starting this year, the Education Ministry will conduct common exams for Class 8 students. With this, the earlier practice of school-level test administration, evaluation and result declaration would be handled by the Bhutan Council Schools Examinations and Assessment. According to Education Ministry, the decision is in line with the Education Reform Initiative and was approved by the Education Reform Steering Committee.
This year we're going to start with Class 8 and next year we'll also have it for Class 6. And one of the reasons why we are doing this is largely to instill culture of hard work, rigor, the discipline of hard work. I say this because largely we feel that over the years along the way, I think we have lost this culture of hard work. I think this is waning away in many schools among many students.
The number of students with disabilities completing high school in the country is increasing. However, there are not many options for them to continue their education in colleges except in technical and vocational education training programs. As per ongoing study conducted by the Samsi College of Education, there is a need to plan and develop infrastructure and train academics.
Researchers and educationists gathered at the Royal Thimphu College recently for a national conference on higher education in Bhutan. They discussed innovative ideas, adaptations, opportunities and challenges in the higher education system in the country. One of the highlights of the conference was inclusiveness in higher education system, especially for students with disabilities. Transitioning from high school to college is difficult for students with disabilities. For instance, not a single student from the Wongsel Institute for the Deaf has pursued higher education in a college.
We have different styles of learning and teaching for deaf students compared to normal students. We have not been able to cater to their basic needs to enhance their learning capacity, and that's why our students have not been able to transition to colleges.
However, 18-year-old Ugen Penjor, who is studying in class 12, wants to pursue higher education in sign language. Currently, one of the challenges is the inadequate development of sign language in the country.
I will study hard and go abroad to study deaf education. I will come back to the institute and help the deaf students. Currently, we do not have enough sign languages in the country, so I will research and develop sign languages for the country.
A parent who was interviewed in the ongoing study conducted by the Samti College of Education said, higher education institutions in Bhutan accepted only blind students but not the other forms of disabilities. Moreover, there is very minimal support in terms of assistive devices, accommodation, adjustment and adaptation. Similarly, an educator who participated in the study said, one of my students had a physical disability but was cognitively brilliant and completed class 12, and he was denied admission to higher institutions because they didn't have accessible infrastructure and caregivers. The study also found there's no specific policy to address the challenges that students with disabilities face in higher education institutes.
If we look at many of the policy documents, this should have happened long time back, in fact, to be very honest. But it has not really happened as we all expected it to happen. But I think with so many initiatives going around in the country, I think the tempo will pick up.
Similarly, a research coordinator at Royal Thimphu College found that only a few colleges accommodate students with disabilities willing to pursue higher education.
In these colleges, the youth with disabilities are more specifically to do with visual impairment. We do not still have areas for people with deafness. Probably that's one area that we really need to look at it, because these children coming out of Wangsal Institute, they do have a huge transition problem.
Today, there are nearly 800 students studying in 26 special education needs schools. And with the numbers increasing, it's time that the concerned stakeholders come together to assess and understand the situation of students with disabilities and come up with the solution. With camera person Tilenorbu, this is Samtin Dolkar for BBS News.
One of the most important representatives in a democratic setup is the local government representative. They are the bridge between the voters and the government. However, some places in the country still have no representatives, resulting in delayed developmental progress. Nganglam is one of them.
From a prospective Dzongkhag Thomde to being a forgotten town, Nganglam town in Pema Gatsal is an embodiment of life's ups and downs. However, riding on the hope that the place will one day bustle just like any other big town in the country, the residents are constructing buildings. On the other hand, the lack of a local government representative has delayed much of its progress. The town was declared a Yenla Thomde of Pema Gatsal by the parliament in 2015.
Today, as the town is in developing stage, activities like drinking water supply, constructing internal road and all are underway. It needs to be monitored by the TIMI, but we don't have a TIMI today. That's why project gets delayed without no one to make a timely follow-up.
When we have any plans for developmental activities, we cannot include those in the plans as we don't have a TIMI in the Gyeok Sokde and Dzongkhag Sokdo.
Today, the town has appointed their own Tsokpa, but unlike other local government representatives, they are not eligible to represent the residents in Tsokdus. Its responsibility is just to relay messages to the residents for meetings and other official works.
Today we have nominated a Tsokpa, so they are trying their best, but most of the time the work has to do at the policy making level. During that time, as they lack the experience, they cannot do accordingly.
Most of us started constructing building here. Though our town is declared as Yenla Thomde, the development here is in advance today. So we would be grateful if we can have one elected Thomde TIMI.
The Election Commission said that following the writ issued by the Supreme Court in 2016 to defer the elections in identified Thomdes, the Commission could not hold elections. The Commission said its only role is to conduct free and fair elections in the country.
We do not have the authority to identify or say this requires this and that. So we worked under the decisions passed by the parliament. So as far as boundaries are concerned and identification of which is to be done what. So only when we receive that directives or the law or what decisions that parliament takes, accordingly then we worked in that area.
The writ from the Supreme Court instructed the ECB to defer the LG election in the newly identified Thomdes and Yenla Thomdes. Unless the Supreme Court issues another writ recognizing the Yenla This, Nganglam's hope for getting a representative will not materialize. With additional information from Teledoji, Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
The High Court convicted 2 men of larceny recently. They were convicted of stealing copper wire worth more than 2.5 million ngitam from the store of PHPA2 last year. In April this year, Wandiphoda District Court sentenced Phupdoji and Tseringtopke to over 5 years in prison. While Phupdoji's sentence was increased to 9 years, the High Court upheld the lower court's judgment in the case of Tseringtopke.
The High Court altered the judgment passed by the District Court and increased 29-year-old Phupdoji's prison term. According to the High Court's judgment, Phupdoji was convicted twice in 2017 and 2019 of similar offences. As per the Penal Code, a defendant will be liable to enhanced punishment if he or she is convicted of the same offence. Larceny, as per the Penal Code, is value-based sentencing. The Wandiphoda District Court sentenced them to 5 years and 3 months each in prison for an offence of a third-degree felony. They were also ordered to compensate PHPA2 with the cost of the copper wire within 6 months from the day of the judgment. They were sentenced for stealing about 2,500 kilograms of copper wire. However, they appealed to the High Court, claiming that the copper wire they stole was less than 300 kilograms. The judgment by the High Court stated that the commercial invoice of the project showed 3 types of wire boxes with different sizes and weights. The court stated that the project did not purchase any box with the weight the defendants claimed. Also, the verdict stated that the wire box recovered from them was found to be the one containing 2,462 kilograms. The judgment stated that the convicts melted the copper wire and made it into different weights. The police recovered the wires from them, which altogether weighed 262 kilograms. The court said the convicts appealing to base their sentences on 262 kilograms of recovered copper wire instead of 2,462 kilograms do not hold water. This is because the sentencing should be based on the total amount the project paid while procuring the box of 2,642 kilograms and not the 262 kilograms of melted copper. According to sources, the convicts appealed to the Supreme Court on Monday. Kilitim for BBS News.
People in Dagana and Serang have long struggled to maintain access to quality health care services without a surgeon, but not anymore. The Dampu Hospital in Serang started providing surgery services beginning last month with the deployment of a general surgeon, and this has greatly eased the lives of people in the 2 districts.
Inaugurating the service formally, Prime Minister Dr. Lotus Ring joined the Operation Theatres team at Dampu Hospital yesterday. The team provided the service to 7 patients suffering from gallstones. So far, the hospital has conducted around 50 surgeries.
Critical situation junigia nichia deal. Tito Beochin Machina, the Kishok, the doctor operate Benigi surgical disna, Jen Bete, Magi, Ahmodole Beochiniro, Mrs. Disukara, Pento Pay, Sishonila.
Mapa Indingi Apagilo Juchira, Kachahani, Timpulo, Baibala, the have done the 6 month after 6 month operation bege session level. After 6 months since in Gumangova, Nangachilu, Ditolera. Angi apagi operation ti besuchi iseshunila
ngache minam chudu sudi da zero la digi benale ya thimpu thinde jodalu de ya doctor chiga che masuba tian bodalu khosre gi da zero dige la maswa ni benam sa kangil bom ju digi iseshunbi.
Dampu Hospital will cater services to both districts by adopting the cluster approach strategy. Considering the limited number of doctors and specialists in the country, the strategy helps people get health and medical services without having to visit the National Referral Hospital. Similar specialized clustered medical services are being established in strategic locations to solve healthcare service disparities in the country. Meanwhile, a gynecologist and a pediatrician are scheduled to join the Damfu hospital beginning next year. For Pema Seong in Sirang, Sulampem for BBS News.
Ever since the planning for the development of Jigme Namgyol Museum in Lhunsi began in 2016, it generated a lot of excitement amongst the people there. Now, as the museum targets for this fall inauguration, their excitement has only doubled.
This four-storied traditional structure is where Desi Jigme Namgyol, the father of the first Drugyalpo Ugin Wangchu, was born almost 200 years ago. Hence named as Jigme Namgyol Naksang, the structure is located at Dunkar village under Kurtigyok. It has been morphed into a historically rich museum which is a tribute to Desi Jigme Namgyol. The works began in 2019 with the district administration doing a major renovation including painting and electrification works. Despite the pandemic, most of the works have been complete so far.
We have completed most of the preparation works, including the collection of artifacts inside the museum. Only some minor works such as installing humidity devices in the ground and first floors are left.
As works are now in final stages, the district administration is hoping to inaugurate the museum this October or November.
If it gets delayed, we will officially inaugurate it by February or March next year. Currently, Lhunsi Dasang is taking care of the Naksang, and those people who come to visit are allowed to visit it anytime.
The four-storied museum will showcase a wide range of century-old items such as kitchen and weaving tools, sacred relics, textiles, weapons, and accessories. The third floor of the museum has been recreated as a bedroom of Desi Jigme Namgyol. People of Kurtigyok described the museum as the biggest and most precious asset in the Gyok. They're hoping it will play a key role in increasing tourism numbers in Lhunsi and other eastern districts.
The museum is being set up at the historic birthplace of Desi Jigme Namgyol. We are so excited for the inauguration of the museum. Though we did not have the museum in the past, people continuously visit our Gyok to witness our local statue and on pilgrimage. We are hoping to see more people visiting our place on pilgrimage after the opening of the museum.
With the inauguration of the museum, our youth can get employment opportunity. We can also sell the dairy products in the locality without having to take them to the market. We have seen such museum in Paro and Tongsa. So establishing a museum out here would also benefit us.
The district administration is spending 3 million Yutum for the development of Jigme Namgyol Museum. Once inaugurated, it will officially become the first ever museum in the East. For Sonam Sring in Lhunsi, this is Pemal Harden, BBS News.
Just as men, women are also setting the bar high in the sport of volleyball. With the establishment of infrastructure, volleyball has steadily developed among women in recent times. In the finals of the 2022 Women's Summer Volleyball Championship, United Ladies defeated High School Friends in Thimphu. Players, mostly young women, attributed the team's success to their passion for the game and to their work ethic.
In a set of 5, both the teams won a set each in a very close match. The match kept the spectators on their toes when the young women displayed their talents and skills on the court. Each spike was cheered on by the crowd. However, United Ladies won 2 more sets in the following matches and won the match.
We won and I am delighted. Most of our players are very good and talented. Even before the match, we convinced ourselves that we will win. We practiced in many different courts before the championship. That's why we won today.
Meanwhile, the runners-up team also had good players and displayed professionalism during the entire championship, but it was not their day.
I am happy just to be able to participate in the championship. The match was competitive and we had so much fun. On the other hand, we are also sad because we lost.
According to the Bhutan Volleyball Federation, the sport is becoming popular among women.
Since the construction of this court, we are seeing more women taking interest in the sport, and the court is also booked by women most of the time these days. The style of play has also improved a lot compared to the past. Even the spectators here today are surprised to see it.
The winners took home cash prizes along with trophies and medals. A total of 16 teams from various districts took part in the two-day championship. The men's summer championship is also set to begin next week with a huge number of 28 teams. Sringdandup, BBS News.
That is all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us.